we're going to move into commanding confidence. You belong in every room you enter. Confidence isn't about being the loudest voice or having all the answers. It's about trusting your experience, knowing your worth, and showing up as your full self. This session focuses on commanding that confidence, grounding it in what you've earned and carrying it into every conversation, opportunity, and challenge that comes your way. So Sandy's going to put the first prompt in the chat, and your answer is going to be one word. What gives you career confidence? So while you're all getting back into the chat, some of you may run out and grab a sandwich or something right now, but while you are putting your answers in the chat, I would love to introduce you to our panelists on commanding your confidence, Morgan DiGiorgio and Kristi Duvall. So I would love for Morgan, to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, Morgan.
Sure. Thanks, Kelly. I'm happy to be here. I'm Morgan DiGiorgio. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for Direct Mail 2.0, Who's Mailing What, and DM20.ai. And our sole purpose is to make direct mail the most effective form of marketing by integrating it with cutting edge technology. We have an omni-channel marketing platform with real-time reporting dashboard, a direct mail competitive intelligence database, and a direct mail AI platform that gives insight into how to improve direct mail campaigns prior to mailing. I am also a Girls Who Print board member and very thrilled to be a part of this Girls Who Print Day. And in my spare time, I am a mother to two incredible little girls, and I spend a lot of time in mentorship to other women. So thanks for having me, Kelly, and thanks for allowing my introduction here.
Absolutely, Morgan. And thank you for being here. And also thank you to Direct Mail 2.0 for being a sponsor of Girls Who Print. It cannot be overstated that we cannot do the work that we do without organizations like yours and people like you. So thank you very much. Kristi, welcome from the Pac Northwest. Good to see you. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thanks everybody for hopping on today. My name is Kristi Duvall. I spent 25 years in print and packaging, and in the last couple of years, I launched my leadership coaching business, and I help leaders navigate change, structural reorganization, post-acquisition integration, and cultural transformation. And am I supposed to answer your first question, Kelly?
Well, actually, what I failed to ask Morgan to do, and I'll ask you to do it, is what does confidence mean to you, Kristi? What does confidence mean to you?
So confidence for me it really stems from self-talk. And it is the willingness to move forward without knowing all of the answers, to stand in your power fully in a room, even when maybe inside you're not totally comfortable.
Sure.
Awesome. And Morgan, I forgot to ask you that question. So let's hear what confidence means to you.
Confidence to me is a state of mind. It is a state of innermost utter belief in yourself to the core, and a way that you present yourself in a commanding way. Like, even if you don't believe it internally, like Kristi was speaking to, you show up and you present yourself that way because you have self-worth and self-love, and you are confident and you have arrived.
I love it. Thank you so much. So this is going to be broken out into 3 pieces. And so the first section is called Trusting Your Experience. So confidence begins with recognizing the value of what you already bring. And every role, project, and challenge builds a record of proof that you can handle what's next. So Morgan, you've built a career leading teams and driving growth in fast-moving, high-stakes environments. How has trusting your experience shaped the way you make decisions and take risks?
So I'm going to take a step back just to speak where my confidence bred from, because it's easy to have confidence now after decades of personal and professional experience, right? But what about when you were wet behind the ears and just starting out in your career and you're fearful and second guessing everything and not sure if you're making the right decisions? So I'm going to get raw and vulnerable here for a minute. Growing up, my basic needs weren't even met as a child. Okay. I grew up without stability. I had a lot of traumatic events, and that can be really defeating. And I share this because the point I would like to make is that confidence and trust in yourself and having the ability to make sound decisions and take risks, especially in high stakes environments, is mental. Almost everything in life is mind over matter. Telling yourself you can, continuing on when you're exhausted and don't want to. And I'm talking professionally, personally. When my kid has a 7-game back-to-back travel ball tournament and I'm like running on fumes. Okay, this can be like personal or professional, right? Not giving in and listening to negativity from unsavory people maybe you've had to work with, or self-defeating talks. So when you don't have someone else to lift you up, you learn to become your own anchor and you do it yourself. And I share that because the journey taught me that confidence isn't something that necessarily everybody is born with, but that mindset is everything. So, today, beholding a highly successful life and career, I can make fast, calculated decisions because I trust my instincts and I don't shy away from risk. I can assess it, weigh it, move decisively because I've lived through uncertainty before. I know what it's like to start with nothing and still build something. And that experience gives me the courage to take big swings when I believe in something. So, me personally, I've been tested, I've endured, and I've earned my intuition. So I really believe in communicating. There's a little like meme that I'll see sometimes pop up on Facebook. If she thinks she can, she will.
Yeah, that's so great. That's the motto of my daughter's scout troop. She believed she could, so she did. That is an astonishingly I like how you classified it as raw, Morgan, because that was real. And I think that's going to be one for the replay market at 1:07 p.m. Eastern time. That was really phenomenal. Kristi, you've led sales teams through shifting markets and changing expectations. What experiences taught you how to trust your judgment, especially when the answers weren't obvious or popular?
That's really funny where Morgan started this conversation, because I too was thinking about where did that stem from in the beginning? And, for me, college didn't work out. I packed 2 suitcases and I moved to Idaho, and I was a ski bum for a while. And then I fell into sales by mistake. But when I was thinking about my first management role, I was looking for gaps in the organization, because that sort of seemed to be, it was fun for me. It was problem solving. And so I was a salesperson, and I saw a gap where reps making a transition from inside to outside sales, they weren't typically successful. And so I started to see where there would be opportunities for me to bring value, because, I think we all show up at work, yes, we're there for a paycheck, but we want to contribute. We want to be heard, and we want to bring something to the table. And I think for me, it stemmed from filling those gaps.
That's an aha moment for sure. Thank you very much for that. So there's going to be another chat prompt. And this is a fun one because it's just a yes or no, right? Does your confidence rely on it being recognized by others? So that's going on in the chat right now. Because when you anchor in what you've already accomplished, that's why I love how you guys both talked about going back to the beginning. When you anchor in what you've already accomplished, confidence shifts from something you perform to something you carry. And I love that. So we're going to move on to section 2. Standing firm in what you bring. And you both strike me as people who are standing very firm right now. Owning your value means leading from strength, not apology. It's knowing your perspective matters and showing up with clarity and purpose. Morgan, you've built expertise in your field and a track record of results. How do you stand firmly in your confidence when challenged, or how do you find your way back to it?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I approach things a lot differently now as a seasoned professional than I did early in my career. I was a little more volatile back then and stubborn. I'm more refined today, right? So for me today, it's really about staying humble and knowing that I'm not always right. Like, I don't let my ego get engaged and take offense if I'm challenged. Like, I actually welcome it. I mean, I'm pretty open-minded, and I understand that I'm not always going to make the right decision 100% of the time, and that's okay. And I do respect when people challenge my thinking, because it either sharpens my perspective, like, which I'm very grateful that I'm open to today, because at one point I wasn't necessarily, or it will confirm my conviction. But I will say this, though, is that I am right more than I'm wrong.
Yes.
And, that's because of how much experience I've accumulated over the years. But still, that doesn't mean that it always feels good to be challenged, right? But I can evaluate the decision and decide, like, either there is a better way to do things, or I stand firm when I know I'm right. And confidence doesn't mean you never doubt yourself. It just means that you know how to navigate those moments with grace, humility, and experience.
Yeah, I mean, two things can be true at the same time, right? You can be open and sturdy, right? Open to other perspectives and ideas, but also, I love that. Like, you just flat out said, I'm right more than I'm wrong. And I'm going to tell you that in 32 years, I have not heard very many women say that. So, I mean, just incredible. Thank you. Kristi, as someone who has built strong performance-driven teams, how do you help others find their confidence and speak up even when they're unsure?
I am really passionate about development, because I think it's really important for us to develop pipelines for people to see opportunities beyond where they are today. And ironically, just yesterday, I was in front of a room of salespeople in a really difficult situation. There's plant issues, there's post-acquisition integration issues. And one of the reps, who was, when I was talking about gaps in that last story, he was an inside salesperson and he desperately wanted to be an outside rep. And I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to coach this guy. I'm going to coach this kid. I'm going to spend once a week with him. And now we're 10 years later. He's still on the team. And I'm standing up there and he says, Kristi, you would never give me the answers. And he said, it frustrated me beyond belief. But he said, now, because you wouldn't give me the answers, you push me beyond, you push me to the edge of frustration. And he said, you forced me to learn how to figure things out on my own. And he said, that enabled me to learn how to trust my decision making. And I was just so proud of him for acknowledging that. And he acknowledged that in a room of 15 other people, some of which he has relationships with and some not. And for me, as a leader who is really passionate about coaching and my management style over the years, like, that was the ultimate, gratification.
Yeah, I mean, it is, as you were saying that, I'm like, that is the definition of being a coach, is not giving people the answers, letting them get to it on their own. It's so much more empowering, right? It's so much more gratifying to see somebody get there with your guidance and all of that other things. And there's a lot of other things going on there, but that's really incredible. Thank you for that. So there's another prompt in the chat that's going to come up here in a second. Another one-word one. What quality do you want people to notice first about you? Standing firm isn't about being unshakable. It's about knowing your ground and using it to create room for others, which again is everything that we're doing here at Girls Who Print and all of you here on this call today. So we're going to move into section 3, which is leading with assurance. True confidence isn't situational. It's consistent. It's how you move when there's uncertainty, when pressure arises, when others look to you for direction. So Kristi, in sales, pressure and pace are consistent, they're constant. What helps you project assurance in high stakes moments, especially when outcomes are still in motion?
I think one of the things I've learned that might be important to say is, regardless of someone's years of experience, doesn't mean they know how to handle everything. And it doesn't mean they have the confidence to do it all, because a lot of people are still attached to doing things the quote right way. And in a current situation, I'm working on, just to share a quick story, I'm working with a salesperson who it's one of the company's largest clients. They are transitioning out of the market that we have supported them for the last couple of decades, and they're moving to the other side of the country. And they keep asking us for all this information, more and more information. And the rep's like, well, the more information we give them, the better position we're going to be. And I'm like, no. At some point, we have to sort of put up this, we have to have a dialogue with the client. And so I got on a call last week with him and the customer. Now, this rep he's a 30-year veteran, and he was uncomfortable basically putting the customer on in the spotlight and saying, what are you going to give us in return? And it was really uncomfortable for him, but I just thought, we're partners. And I think that's the whole thing, is about building confidence, is about building trust, and building trust is about, having transparent conversations and basically saying, we want a shared outcome that's beneficial for both parties. How do we get there?
Well, and it's like you've both been saying since we started this conversation, that's a mindset, a shared outcome, right? There's a lot of salespeople out there who are only invested in one outcome, and that's what's best for the customer, right? And that's wonderful. But again, companies have to make money too, right? So I'm thinking about setting boundaries, and this is all about the confidence. So that's really fantastic. Morgan, you lead in a space where innovation and technology move fast. How do you instill confidence in your teams when change is constant and expectations are high?
Yeah, technology moves at lightning speed, and in full transparency, it's almost overwhelming. I mean, it really is. And confidence has to come from how I'm leading through that unknown, because for me, it starts with setting the example, right? My team watches how I show up a lot more than what I say. So if I stay calm and confident and clear, they're going to mirror that, right? It gives them the permission to do the same. And I make sure that they know that mistakes aren't failures, right? They're all learning experiences. None of us are perfect. And in the type of environment that we're in, we're always experimenting. We're always innovating, right? So we're making our own mistakes, whether with our technologies, our platforms, our business, ourselves, but we're learning and we're growing. And I just try to give them a North Star, clear expectations, and the freedom to move, within these guardrails here. And my job as a leader really is just to model what that looks like, right? And if they feel capable, supported, and believed in, because, they'll believe in themselves if I show that I believe in them, and typically they'll rise to the challenge.
I love that. And everything you just described to me is emotional intelligence, right? And I think all of us have been around long enough to know that phrase didn't exist when our career started. It didn't for me anyway. So that idea, what I'm hearing is you can regulate your own emotions. You can achieve that clarity, right? Without it seeming like everything is burning down around you. We all probably have been in situations where, at least for me, we've been screamed at, right? Oh. And I've heard somebody else say this earlier. It was Lucy Swanston, I'm not going to lead like that, right? I am not going to belittle or harm anybody emotionally because I lack the emotional intelligence, right? So I celebrate that that's how you lead. And I celebrate that that is something that's now kind of in the zeitgeist, is that we are very intentional about not only how we lead, but that we are, making sure that we do no harm. It's like we're doctors or something, right? We don't want to harm anybody else in what we're doing. So thank you for those really great answers. So the final chat prompt for this, there's two more. Sorry, there's two more chat prompts here. The next chat prompt is, what keeps you grounded when pressure is on? So let's hear what we're going to, see what's happening in the chat there. But when you lead with assurance, confidence becomes a signal, kind of, Morgan, like you just talked about, people can see it, And they can see it on you, Kristi. They can see the confidence. They can feel it. It's tangible, right? Steady, visible, and contagious. So in closing, because we're just about at the time, confidence is built, not bestowed. I think that's the takeaway that from both of your stories. This didn't magically get sprinkled upon you. You thought it and you manifested it into life, but it's proof of your persistence, your adaptability, and your belief that you belong exactly where you are. Never doubt that, right? Because there's lots and lots of programming about imposter syndrome and things like that. But you two strike me as very sturdy, very knowing that you are where you belong and you belong where you are. So finally, in closing for the chat, what will you do this week to build your confidence? Let's hear what the folks have to say about that. And Morgan and Kristi, I want to thank you so much for being here. It's really inspiring to kind of go back to those origin story moments and see both of you in these very powerful roles where you are not only achieving a lot for your organizations, but you are literally growing generations of performers and leaders beyond and behind and ahead of you. So I want to thank you very much for the work that you do. And thank you for being here today.